To further weigh in, let's welcome Republican strategist and pollster John Thomas. And let's welcome back senior contributor with The Federalist and editor at large with Real Clear Investigations, Ben Weingarten. Ben, I'm going to go to you first. Does this DOJ case have merit, and will there be any accountability for James Comey?
Well, I think the DOJ case has merit insofar as we're talking about the former FBI director who knew exactly what he was doing in a charged environment that he himself helped create, of course, as one of the co-conspirators in effort to effectuate a coup using Russia collusion, so-called, as a pretext to try and destroy President Donald Trump. So on that level, he obviously knew what he was doing. And you can't just do that with a wink and a nod, especially someone in his position with his knowledge and experience. Will ultimately justice prevail in this case? That's obviously yet to be seen. Let's see how the judge presiding over it operates. Obviously, the venue, the jurisdiction is potentially a challenge here in terms of the jury. So unclear yet whether there will be accountability, at least on this particular case for him. But that said, the fact that he has to defend himself, there is some level of justice, at least in that.
John, moving on to the COVID-19 pandemic and what was going on at HHS. A former advisor to Dr. Anthony Fauci has pled guilty to plotting to conceal records tying U.S. grants to bat coronavirus studies at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. FBI Director Kash Patel announced on X, after an FBI investigation with our DOJ partners, Dr. Fauci's associate, David Morans, just pleaded guilty to conspiracy in a scheme to avoid FOIA requests and the Federal Records Act connected to COVID-19 research grants. NIH terminated the grant, understanding the risk of bat coronavirus emergence based on allegations that COVID-19 emerged from the Wuhan Institute of Virology in China. Mr. Morans and his co-conspirators then agreed in writing to intentionally hide their communications from public view by corresponding through Morans' personal Gmail account rather than his official NIH account. He will be sentenced on November 12th, and he faces up to 5 years in prison. John, is this first of the accountability of many? Because Morans wasn't acting alone.
I'm really pleased to see this first step. And remember, why did the government so badly want to cover up the Wuhan lab leak? And it was really comes down to our U.S. presidential elections, because President Trump rightfully called it the China virus, that it came from a Chinese lab. And he was right. And the federal government didn't want to give President Trump that credence about that. And so what they were trying to do was embarrass the president, make him look wrong. This was all bureaucrats like Fauci and his lieutenants, it appears, effort to damage Donald Trump and sway our elections. So I'm pleased to see it. But the most disturbing thing here is this, I don't think, is an isolated incident with this one person. It looks like this is a pattern and practice of how leftist bureaucrats use the government to manipulate information the public has or doesn't have for a particular outcome. And that should concern every American.
You know, Ben, I think a lot of us want to see some accountability for Dr. Fauci himself. I mean, he came up to Congress a few weeks back and pled the fifth on every single question he was asked. His diaries reveal that he was aware of some adverse events of the COVID-19 jab, but kept promoting it on TV as safe and effective. Where does this put Dr. Fauci now that one of his subordinates has pled guilty?
Well, I think there's more than smoke. There's definitely fire here. It's notable that this was one of several co-conspirators, and it'd be interesting to know what Morans might himself have turned over to investigators and prosecutors in the case. So we shall see if there's criminal liability for Dr. Fauci, beyond, of course, a potential criminal referral that might come from his stonewalling in Congress. Or potentially, are we going to see a challenge of the legitimacy of the blanket pardon itself? So I think we have to stay tuned when it comes to Fauci. If it's only his underlings that potentially go down for having committed crimes and cover-ups associated with virtually every aspect of the pandemic, that I do think would be insufficient ultimately, but he's skated to date. So TBD at this point what happens.
John, and lastly, I'd like to ask about your reaction to the South Carolina senatorial debate last night. Our Greta Van Susteren moderated that debate. Many thought that Lindsey Graham's sister was not well prepared, but she is a novice on a debate stage trying to take her brother's seat. How do you think this positions her going into the runoff?
Well, as a campaign strategist, I can tell you I've prepped thousands of candidates. I understand why she flubbed it. And this is a risk when a candidate is not experienced when they go into a short-term race and then they're expected at a high level to perform. She clearly isn't ready as a candidate. Now, voters will decide if she's ready as an office holder, but she wasn't prepped. That definitely was a gaffe. And it's particularly strong and interesting because her brother Lindsey was known for his foreign policy chops. Mm-hmm. That was his signature in trade, and the fact that she doesn't know that and her pivot to supporting the military, while that's laudable, admirable, and well respected in a Republican field, it's not sufficient as an office holder because the Senate controls, in fact, the purse strings along with the Congress. They're the ones who tell the military, along with the commander in chief, what to do. It's not that the military tells the Senate how it should be. So we'll see. I think President Trump's endorsement probably still carries the day here, but that was a major gaffe, and hopefully she doesn't make another one.
All right, John Thomas, Ben Weingarten, thank you both for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Thank you.